It is once again that time. Oh, it's so painful to say. So painful to say unironically. The Void Hunter level investigator with power that rivals the Void Hunters. Yixuan. Why? This is so player friendly. This is Yixuan. Yixuan is the debut Rupture DPS agent. What the hell is Rupture? Rupture is a completely new class in Zenless. So there are a couple core mechanics that we need to establish up front. These are going to be talked about throughout the rest of the video, but they need to be here. Rupture completely bypasses enemy defense, uses sheer force instead of attack, and they use adrenaline instead of energy. Starting at the top, completely bypassing enemy defense means pen percent, pen, and def shred are all stats that do nothing. It also means your damage is constant against varying enemy defense. This is defense, not resistance. In Zenless, enemies have actual defense stats, unlike in Honkai Star Rail and Genshin Impact. Because defense ignore is completely useless, this means supports like Rina and Nicole have their effectiveness greatly diminished and their primary benefit effectively reduced to 0. Nicole still gives some other stats that we can talk about during teams, but Nicole is not nearly as good with Yixuan as she normally is with other agents. Next thing is using sheer force instead of attack. Rupture agents convert 30% of their attack into a new stat called sheer force. Sheer force is not to be confused with the Pokemon hidden ability of Feraligatr, or the ability of Darmanitan. Ooh, reference. Additionally, Yixuan converts 10% of her HP into sheer force as well. Because attack has 30% efficiency, attack buffs are less efficient than they normally would be for Yixuan. This changes her stat priority from what we are familiar with in Zenless to something that is much closer to Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, where crit rate is effectively significantly better than attack percent. In Yixuan's case, it's HP percent, but bear with me, you kind of get the idea. This is super min-maxy, but previously in Zenless Zone Zero, characters effectively had crit damage and attack percent at equal stat value. So you could take a piece with +2 crit damage or a piece with +2 attack percent, as long as it had the other stat on it as well. And they would be roughly equal. This is not really the case for Yixuan. She prefers crit. That does not mean that HP percent and attack percent are bad substats. It just means that there is a more nuanced stat priority, or that makes min-maxing her build more difficult. This also means she benefits less from supports like Astra Yao, Caesar, or Lucy, who primarily give attack. Because a lot of those characters, specifically Astra, give other stats, Astra is still very good with Yixuan. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. Adrenaline is the energy alternative for Rupture agents. Adrenaline regens at a default rate of 2 per second. Because adrenaline is not energy, energy regen buffs don't do anything. Meaning, when you use a support ult that would normally regenerate energy, it doesn't regenerate any adrenaline. Energy regen slot 6, useless. Energy regen 2 piece, useless. That's what adrenaline does. Otherwise, it's the same as energy. It just means you can't use energy buffs. That does not mean Yixuan cannot generate adrenaline, besides the default rate. She gets an additional 2 per second for 10 seconds after teammates use their ultimate attacks. After a special attack unlocked from her ultimate, she can get 7 per second for 3 seconds. When you use Yixuan's parry attack as a parry, she will get 10 adrenaline back. When Yixuan applies her special Auric Ink Anomaly, she gets 10 adrenaline. And when teammates do a perfect assist, or defensive assist, or evasive assist, or assist follow-up, she will generate 5 adrenaline. Why does adrenaline matter? Well, Yixuan consumes adrenaline to do damage. Her primary attacks all consume adrenaline, and as she consumes adrenaline, she generates this other resource called Technique. This is the bar under her HP. This is what her resource meter is. It measures how much adrenaline she has consumed. When she has consumed 180 adrenaline, this bar will be full, and she can unleash an ultimate. If you need to know the specifics, Technique is generated at a rate of 0.667 per adrenaline. She has a maximum Technique meter of 120, so she needs to consume 180 adrenaline to fill up this meter. When this meter is full, she will be able to use an alternate ultimate attack that does not consume decibels. This attack is used before the decibel ult if you have both available. After using this attack, Yixuan gets 40% crit damage for 15 seconds. So timing when you use this attack can be beneficial, or it may not be. You may just want to dump it and build up more Technique. Oh, we'll see. I'll cover both possibilities. Is Yixuan stronger than Miyabi? Fortunately for you, I have answered this question. It's our latest video on YouTube besides this one. Go check it out. Yixuan's skill priority is her chain attack and her special before everything else. And then you want to level her basic, and then you could also level her assist or dodge. But chain and special are the two major ones. Her basic attack is also very good to level. So we're going to go a bit in depth here. You're going to have to bear with me for not having the best footage. Hopefully I can communicate this well enough for you to be able to understand. Yixuan has 4 major attacks besides her ultimate that you need to be aware of how to use and when to use them. The first one I want to talk about is the ball, or her EX special attack cloud shaper. The ball is activated by holding the basic attack input. This is a attack with a minimum adrenaline cost of 20 and max adrenaline cost of 60. It consumes adrenaline to do damage over time. When the ball is released, it will blow up and do some additional damage. The ball also does additional damage during stun. It is a bonus 30 damage percent, or 30 damage bonus during stun. So when Yixuan is attacking during stun, this is her primary attack. The next attack you need to be aware of is the parry, or EX Special Attack Ink Manifestation, plus a bunch of other stuff. There are 3 attacks tied to this attack. We're just gonna talk about the mechanics and not the names and terminology because it's needlessly complicated. So this is the parry. This is the attack on Yixuan's special input when she has 40 adrenaline. After doing the base attack, Yixuan can press special again and consume an additional 20 adrenaline. Again, max adrenaline cost of 60. Your energy bar has a cap of 120. It's the same for adrenaline. So each of these attacks is half of your bar. So you can spend an additional 20 adrenaline for 2 follow-up attacks, making the maximum adrenaline cost 60. This is her primary out of stun attack. It should be used as a parry. If you don't really know what that means, I'd ask if you're familiar with Evelyn's command dodge or Evelyn's special dodge. It works exactly like that. So when you see a flash on an enemy or you are about to get hit, press special on Yixuan and she will do a parry and unleash the special attack. You could also think of it like playing DPS Caesar, but I don't think people actually do that, so the comparison doesn't even make any sense. When this attack is used as a parry, Yixuan will generate 10 adrenaline and will get the full charge bonus on the attack. If you cannot use it as a parry, that is technically fine. You can channel the attack to get the full charge bonus, and you can still do the follow-up for 20 energy, even if you do not parry, but I strongly encourage you to parry attacks with it. You will do more damage, you will generate more decibels, you will get adrenaline back. While you don't have to, you really should. You also need to know about the hold dodge attack, the normal one. This is basic attack Ink Veil Cloud Coalescence. This is an attack that can be activated by holding the dodge button. So when you hold the dodge button, Yixuan will do an attack. After this, the reason I need to draw attention to this is because it's very useful for swap cancels. You can weave in this attack as you're about to swap off Yixuan, and she will do the Cloud Coalescence attack and another attack, which is called Cirrus Strike. So this effectively gives Yixuan an attack that she can do while off field that you can sneak in. There's a little bit of free damage here, or damage optimization here. There's also a special version of the hold dodge, which is basic attack Auric Array. This is the alternate version of the hold dodge attack that is activated by holding dodge as well, but it can also be activated after a dash. This is the attack that generates 7 adrenaline per second for 3 seconds when channeled. The energy regen effect from this attack is cancelled when Yixuan is swapped off or if the attack is cancelled. So if you want to get the full 21 adrenaline from this attack, you need to commit to it. Currently, when Yixuan does 3 full EX attacks or consumes 180 adrenaline, she will have her maximum technique, which means she can unleash the alternate ultimate attack. Now, that's all very complicated, but let me try to boil it down to some basic principles. In stun, you're going to do 2 ball attacks, 2 chain attacks, and 2 ultimate attacks. Or 1 ultimate attack, 2 ball attacks, 2 chain attacks, and some hold dodges. Potentially 3 ball attacks. There are a couple specific combos in stun that I can talk about. These are manual stun combos, by the way, if you were curious. Yixuan should be a very easy manual chain character because her input is hold basic attack. It literally couldn't be easier. So we're going to open stun with either the Auric or with either the special hold dodge or a ball attack. There is a cancel for the technique ultimate that is almost certainly unintended. But if you are very quick with swapping, you are able to cancel this. You're able to swap during this ultimate attack. So we're going to kill time and not cancel any of the damage from her ultimate. Then we're going to chain back in. Then we're going to do another ball. Then we're going to do another chain. Then we're going to use the other ultimate. And then we're going to do some more attacks until stun ends and continue attacking outside stun. Because they're likely to find and fix this cancel, I did try to boil it down to 2 balls, 2 chains, 2 ults, and just fit them how you can. There are other attacks you can do, but time will be needed to discover what her actual most efficient damage string is because the alternate ult gives a damage buff. We can also try to sneak in the hold dodges after the ball attacks. So she is doing an attack when you swap off of her that can be canceled by chaining in, adding this damage without necessarily taking more time. Outside of stun, you are going to basically play Yixuan like a DPS. You are going to parry as much as you can. You could use her talisman ult outside of stun, but the TLDR is you're going to parry as much as you can. You will also want to be able to weave in the hold dodges when you swap off, and you want to be able to defensive assist with your stun agent or your other supports, whether that be Panda or Jafufu or whoever you're using. I don't care. While Yixuan sounds very complicated, her gameplay can be boiled down to this. Use the special for damage and parries outside of stun, and use the hold basic for damage inside of stun. It's that simple. You can also boil down her stun window to 2 ultimates, 2 balls, 2 chains at a base level. I know I already talked about the stun window stuff, but I really wanted to reiterate the tap special, outside stun, hold basic, inside stun. Whew, complicated, but that is Yixuan's gameplay breakdown. She is an on-field DPS who has a attack, or who has this ball attack that wants to be used during stun, and she has this parry attack that wants to be used outside stun. Yes, she is bound by her adrenaline/energy to use the biggest hits in her arsenal that she wants to be using all the time. Bit simpler, let's talk about engines. So this is an engine damage comparison. There are 3 Rupture engines, 2 A-rank engines, 1 is a craftable, the other is a Battle Pass engine, and Yixuan has an S-rank engine. There is no standard banner S-rank Rupture engine in version 2.0. So these are the only 3 options we're going to be discussing. Because there are so few options, the difference between engines is quite big. I'm currently estimating her S-rank engine to be 40% better than the craftable. That could change at any point, but that is my current estimation. Worth noting, if you play Astra, technically this difference is a little smaller, so it's not always 40%. Since Yixuan is a title character, her S-rank engine also has an additional 30 base attack. She gets partial efficiency from that attack stat, but it's good anyway, don't worry about it. Yeah, this is the Qingming Birdcage. It's an HP main stat, it gives crit rate, it gives damage bonus, and it gives a new multiplier called Shear Percent. Shear Percent is a multiplier that only applies to sheer damage. If you're familiar with how Anomaly Percent or Disorder Percent work, then this isn't going to be different. But this is a final multiplier. This stat is also on the new set and some of Yixuan's Mindscapes. I think only the 6th one. So this engine, or the 20% shear on this engine, is a 20% multiplier. Technically, it's a little less because you're going to have 10 shear percent by default, but it's a very good engine. This is the Radio Wave Journey. It is another HP main stat. This is the Battle Pass engine. This passive effect was previously on the craftable, and they decided to switch them. Sorry, they made the better engine the Battle Pass engine. This engine gives sheer force on chain attack and ultimate. It stacks up to 3 times, minimum of 80 per stack, maximum of 128 per stack. Because this engine stacks on ultimates and chains, it shifts her damage distribution in favor of stun more dramatically. So she will be doing more of her damage during stun than she is with other engine options. But that is not necessarily a bad thing. You can argue it's a good thing because your stun opportunity is big damage. I don't care. But yes, this is the Battle Pass engine now. You can't get P5 initially, so you got to look at P1 right now. Wait 5 updates. This is the craftable, the Puzzle Sphere. This is an engine that does more damage to enemies when they are below 50% HP. So thankfully, the damage difference between the above and below 50%, it's not super significant. We'll say it's about 10%, but this is the craftable engine. It is the only free-to-play option because there is no other option. You could also look at just using a high base attack engine with crit, and that's honestly fine and pretty competitive with the craftable and the Battle Pass engine. Those are the engine options. They're a bit dire. Welcome to Zenless. Can I take your order? There will be more Rupture engines over time. The question is just when and where? I don't know, man. Thankfully, available to everyone is the new drive disc set. Yixuan's drive discs are real simple. There is a new set. It gives sheer percent. It gives HP. It gives ultimate damage bonus. It gives crit rate on EX special, chain attack, and ultimate. It's a good set. This is the Yixuan set, the same way Miyabi had a set, the same way Jiafufu has a set, the same way Ambi had a set, the same way Vivian had a set. This is what they do now. New characters get new sets that are just for them. Yeah, because the Jiafufu set is so good, basically everyone will be farming this anyway. So it's a good set. You will farm it. You should farm it. Use it on your Yixuan. There is no other option. Slot 4, it's going to be crit damage or crit rate. You could use HP percent, but it is worse, especially when you have low crit stats. Slot 5 has 2 options, either percent or HP percent. With the S-rank engine, or even with the S-rank engine, Jiafufu, and Astra, ether percent is 1% better than HP percent, without factoring that ether percent can have an HP substat and double crit. So ether percent is better, but you may end up using HP percent, and it is 1 to 3% worse. Reminder, pen percent does nothing. You cannot use it on this character, so she has 2 slot 5 options, and that is it, as opposed to the usual 3. Look out for both, roll both. I will probably be using HP percent on my Yixuan, just because those are the pieces that I have in my inventory. For reference, you do not need ether percent slot 5, but it is technically better. Slot 6, it's HP percent. Real simple. It's time to talk about teams. Like engines, Yixuan's team options are a bit limited. Thankfully, Yixuan is releasing with this character named Pan Yin Hu. or Penyin-hu. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I'm just gonna call him the Panda, or Panda. Skadoosh! So the Panda gives sheer force directly as a buff, meaning the Panda is a support for exclusively Rupture agents. Thankfully, he is on Yixuan's banner, so by pulling Yixuan, we can somewhat expect you to have the Panda, which makes things much easier. So basically all of these teams are going to include the Panda. Let's talk about the best Yixuan team. Yixuan, Astra, Jifufu. Well, you heard me. You can also use the Panda instead of Astra, I'm kidding. The advantage to using Astra is that she buffs Jifufu and Yixuan. The Panda and Astra buff Yixuan similar amounts. When you play Astra with Yixuan, I need to mention that there is another A rank option besides Kaboom the Cannon. This is the Game Ball. The Game Ball is the support Battle Pass engine. Because Yixuan is an Ether agent, same as Astra, you are likely to play Yixuan with Astra on Ether weak enemies, which means you can somewhat consistently activate the passive of the Game Ball, making it the actual best support engine Astra can use in this team, technically, above her own S rank engine. And that's one of the primary reasons for recommending Astra over Penyin-hu. The disadvantage of using Astra is you're taking Astra from other teams. It's a big deal. The default is going to be Penyin-hu. Deal with it. The Panda is here. Could he be replaced later? Yeah, but he's here. He is good. You're going to be using him, especially since Jifufu is not available. You can play Astra Penyin-hu, Astra Panda, and Astra. This is the equivalent of double support for Yixuan. Is good. Quickly, I will touch on Jifufu. Jifufu is a crit damage buffer and ultimate and chain attack buffer. She also increases the decibel tank for attack and rupture agents. She also refunds attack and rupture agents 300 decibels after they use their ultimates. Jifufu, similar to Trigger, is an aftershock stun agent, so she attacks off field and wants to swap in to spend resources to more efficiently use her aftershocks. Alternatives, if you are not pulling Jifufu and are not willing to use double support, we can use Panda Astra, we can use Panda Trigger, we can use Panda Pulchra, we could use Panda Lucy, or we could use Panda Nicole. But wait, Nicole's Jeff Shred doesn't do anything. Yeah, it doesn't. Nicole's M6 still gives 15 crit rate. The Vault still gives 24 damage bonus at max overclock phase. Nicole's additional ability still gives 25 ether percent. It's a bit pathetic that it's come to this, but these buffs are better than some alternatives, especially if you have to use like A rank and B. It's depressing, but I need to mention it. I also need to mention Pulchra is best used when M6. She is much less beneficial without M6. Nicole's additional is attribute or faction. The final thing we're going to talk about are Mindscapes. Mindscapes. I don't necessarily like promoting Mindscapes. Yixuan has very good Mindscapes. I'll quickly touch on what they do and some of their damage increases. The first Mindscape is 10% crit rate and an ult at the start of combat. Also, she will get an additional 5 adrenaline every 6 seconds after teammates attack. This also does a little bit of damage, but the damage is kind of ancillary. It's 5 adrenaline every 6 seconds. So I'm estimating this at generally 20% damage increase. The big deal about this Mindscape is the daily convenience from the extra ult, or from starting with your ult available. Much like Miyabi M2, you can walk in, pop the ult, one shot, move on with your day, do it again. There is convenience here. It's going to be very useful just for that. If you watch my stream, you see me do this with Miyabi M2 all the time. This is another way to do that. Mindscape 2 is 15% red shred on damage from her EX special and ultimate attacks, 3-second stun duration, and a extra attack that can be used after the ball, the hold dodge, or the parry follow-up. This attack is activated by, it is attached to the Talisman ultimate. Because you can technically use 2 Talisman ultimates per stun occasionally, it is possible, especially with M1, because you get the free one at the start of combat. It is possible, and you will, use this attack twice per stun, meaning it's a pretty significant damage increase. Additionally, when her Decibel ultimate hits an enemy that is stunned, you're getting an extra 3-second stun duration to make sure that you can do all of your attacks. On paper, this is expected to be about a 30% damage increase. Combined with M1, that would be about 50% over M0. M3 is +2 all skills, that is 10% damage. M4 is after ulting, her next EX attacks get 30 damage bonus. This can stack twice. This is useful during stun because you'll be using the ultimates. It's nice. +2 skills at Mindscape 5 is 9% damage bonus, and her final Mindscape Cinema is every 30 seconds after using an ultimate, she can use another ultimate. So every 30 seconds, you get an extra ultimate. That's neat. Also, it gives +20% shear, which is that shear stat again. So yeah, Yixuan has very good Mindscapes. Don't be pressured to pull them. While they may be very good, they're far from necessary, and they're very expensive. I'm gonna break this down in terms of monetary value, just so people understand. Let's say we wanna play Yixuan, Panda, Jafufu. And we wanna pull Jafufu's engine, Yixuan's engine, and Yixuan M2. That's $1,000 worth of pulls in one update, on average. It could be higher, it could be lower. It's very expensive. Please spend within your means. And yeah, that is Yixuan. If you want to know how Yixuan stacks up against Miyabi, check out our last video. It's a great video, super detailed, just like this. And good luck with your pulls. I hope you enjoy the character, and I hope you learn something.